nice to be here. I love you all.
Hello and welcome to the Scannain Podcast, your weekly look at the world of film news, Irish and international. I'm your host, Darren Mooney. Joining me are
Grace
and Jay.
So we're going to talk about the weekend film news. We're going to talk about the top 10 and the new releases, but we're going to start with what we normally do. So Grace, what have you watched since the last we talked?
What have I watched? Well, first things first. I went to the Korean Film Festival. So I saw 3 films at that, all of which were very good, some of which were better than others. The first one I saw was The Thieves, which was a very enjoyable heist movie about basically a bunch of kind of Korean small-time gangster pickpocket type people teaming up with a bunch of Chinese pickpocket type people to rip off a casino. But as you can imagine in heist movie type, in typical heist movie format, yeah, somebody has history with somebody else and things get very complicated and sort of blow out proportion. But this was very, very entertaining. I'm actually kind of surprised I hadn't heard about it before, because apparently it was very successful at the box office in Korea, and it's still, I think, maybe 7th or 8th most popular film there in terms of ticket sales, which you can see why, because it's quite long, but it sort of zips along, and the characters are really engaging, and the writing is really enjoyable, and it has that very kind of specific Korean brand of sort of black humor, but in a much lighter way than I see it used in a lot of other films. And I've seen a couple of reviews online that liken this to Ocean's 11, which I have not seen in its entirety, so I can't really speak to that.
Pretty great.
It's very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this I can see the comparison in the sense that this is a very sort of stylishly shot film, and the approach is very, it has that sort of like flashy, slightly surreal kind of aspect going for it. So this was just really fun. It was just like nice light entertainment, and sort of it had characters that you could get invested in, which I appreciated. And then the only thing I didn't like about it was that it was programmed before the film I saw afterwards, which was called Missing, which was an emotional roller coaster if ever there was one. So this is about a woman whose nanny kidnaps her baby, basically. And it starts off in, it sort of paints a certain picture when it begins, and then as the film progresses, you learn a lot more about the nanny's backstory. So she's supposed to be an immigrant from China, and as it turns out, and I suppose this is kind of spoiler if you haven't seen it, so if you want to watch it, then don't listen to this. But basically it turns out that she herself had a baby who died, and the reason the baby died is because it had a condition, and she couldn't access the same level of healthcare as she would have if she was a Korean citizen, and also because her Korean husband would not sign off on certain needs that the child had, so she was bumped down the list. So it was very intense. Like, this was really emotionally grueling, but I thought it was a really, really compelling portrait of what it's like to live that kind of experience in this specific society, because it deals very sympathetically with both its lead characters. Even though the nanny is kind of, ostensibly the villain of the piece, you see a lot of things from her perspective, and she's a very empathetic character, I think. And in that sense, it probably helps that, as I subsequently learned, this film was actually written and directed by a woman. So it says a lot about both the kind of conservative gender roles and sort of societal expectations that are placed on women in Korea. And then, through the medium of the lead character, because she's going through a divorce and she's having a lot of problems in terms of securing custody of her child, even though her husband really doesn't care about the child. And, it's all very messy, and people judge her because she works and has a baby, and it's
Where have we heard that before?
I know. It's that kind of sort of conservative perspective, but then that's also juxtaposed against the nanny's experience of coming from China and being sort of taken advantage of in the way that she was essentially married off to someone who lives in Korea and then has basically no rights, even though she's being abused and mistreated, and then that extends to her daughter, and it's very intense. Like, I think if you have kids, I would not recommend that you watch this, because I feel like it would just leave you in bits. I was in bits watching it, and I don't have kids, but as a portrait, I suppose, of that kind of experience, I felt it was very sensitive and very well told, and really, really gripping. Even though it was only about an hour and a half long or so, like, I really felt every minute. Like, it felt like you'd been through the rigors with these characters, and they find a certain symmetry towards the end, although it doesn't end as neatly as I suspect it would end in a Western context. But it was really very like quite haunting in its own way, and said a lot, I think, about the experiences of women in these positions in Korea. So I would definitely recommend that if you haven't seen it.
Okay.
And then the third film I saw at the festival was called Secret Reunion. So this has one of Korea's perhaps more well-known actors internationally, Song Kang-ho, who people may know from, I suppose, Snowpiercer and The Host and Shush You. And
I would also like to express my preference for that particular film.
And one of Park Chan-wook's first films, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, he's also in.
Which I did like.
Yeah, but he's in this as a former Korean. It's the impression I got is that it's some kind of like federal agent, but basically he was involved in a ring that was tracking North Korean spies, and essentially an operation goes wrong and he gets kicked out of that, and it picks up several years later with him and the spy that he was tailing, who are sort of thrown back together, and both of them recognize each other, but they don't let on that they recognize each other, and they start working together in a certain way and just sort of, you know, monitoring one and the other, and so on. It's interesting. I feel like a lot of the themes here in terms of the you know, finding common ground and finding the humanity in one another, completely separate from the political situation and all of the ways you've been brought up, I suppose, to look at people and look at countries and situations a certain way. I feel like that's probably been done a bit better elsewhere, because the relationship between these two, although both actors are very, very good, I don't think the writing was particularly great. It definitely felt a bit too long at times. But in saying that, I did get very invested in both of their stories, because by the end of it, something happens to the character that's supposed to be a North Korean spy. And I was just sitting there having one of my classic, like, don't you dare die or I will kill you sort of moments. So it was good in that sense. I feel like it was probably just a bit too long for the story it was trying to tell, and it could have been pared back a little. But it was very entertaining, and it did sort of hold your attention while it was going on, and had that sort of very distinctive humor running through it, where they just sort of make fun of the ridiculous and in very heated situations. So that was also good.
Festival sounds good.
It was very good. I think there were 5 films altogether, and I saw 3 of them. And considering that it's free and it's
sold out very quickly.
It sells out very quickly, presumably because it's free, because it's funded by the embassy. But it's a really, I think, interesting way of just getting an insight into culture and
see fields you might not necessarily see.
Yeah, exactly.
That
might be really hard to get a hold of too.
Yeah. So I'm going to get to it next year. I kind of missed it until you said it. I didn't even know it existed. I think Niall said something similar, and then I kind of checked. It's almost got that. And then I looked, and it's all sold out, and it's like, rats.
I know. It
was
kind
all
of unfortunate.
sold out, was it?
Yeah. Oh God, you'll make a point of anything.
It's taken a minute to sort of catch up with that.
Sorry.
Jeez.
Technically, you're the one who made it, but anyway.
Well, that's true, but unintentional.
But yeah, so all 3 of them I would recommend to differing degrees. And then the only other film I watched this week was My Own Private Idaho, which I had seen part of before, but I didn't watch all of it, because I think when I was trying to watch it the last time I was looking at it, I was not in the right place for it. But this time I really...
This is Gus Van Sant, part of the Keanu Reeves season at the
part of the
Lighthouse,
Keanu Ram at the Lighthouse. But I don't know if enjoyed it is the right word.
It's not, I don't think.
Because...
It's very good, though.
It is very good, like, and it definitely, I found it quite mesmerizing in parts, but it's so interesting the way it's made, because it's funny, I was coming out of the cinema and I overheard somebody else who had been in it talk about how, you know, it wasn't attempting to present any kind of objective reality, and I thought that was an interesting way of looking at it, because I suppose if anyone's seen it, there are several scenes where the characters speak in this really kind of verbose, almost Shakespearean dialogue, which seems completely divorced from their actual situation, like they're just, like they're characters in a stage play or something, and everything is very sort of theatrical and heightened and slightly surreal. But I really liked that aspect of it, because it felt like a very... In a way, it felt like it grounded it in a more subjective perspective. Like the lead character, played by River Phoenix, sees himself in a certain way and sees the world around him in a certain way. And I thought that was a very interesting way of presenting that perspective. And there are also elements in this that are so heartbreaking, because it's a film that kind of segues from being quite funny in parts and kind of hopeful in parts to being incredibly dark and like borderline disturbing, because you have all of these characters who live on the streets and you know, sell themselves to get by, telling you about these very traumatic experiences almost in this sort of throwaway fashion, and it really jars with the way everything is presented. But I think the word that came to mind when I was leaving this for me was that it's quite impressionistic, and I think that's probably the best way to put it, because it's almost like a series of sort of subjective interpretations of different events, and then put together in this very abstract artistic style, but one that I think really fits for the characters and the stories that it's trying to tell. Certainly River Phoenix's character, you can see him looking at everything around him in this very intellectual way, like one that sort of belies his station in life, and I think that really allowed the emotion to shine through in a very distinctive way, and I think it really, it's hard to say, because it's not something I can say I enjoyed in the old-fashioned sense, but one that is very thought-provoking and I think stays with you because of the way that it's made. And I really liked that about it.
I need to rewatch it. It's been a good few years, but I think you're on the money in it in the descriptive terms. I think there's a almost heightened aspect to it that takes it in a kind of, and maybe surreal is not quite the right word for it, but certainly
very Vincent of
and it's very
way,
character, the way the characters almost want to be something else and somewhere else, but it
like their
illustrates
own
that in a very visual way.
Or vision of themselves.
Yes,
kind
exactly,
of
their best selves or their
affects how everything
grandiose
else
selves.
is presented.
And I really like that about it, and it's very almost classical filmmaking in a lot of ways, depending on how or which scene you're watching and stuff like that, which I really liked.
And I think it's done in such an authentic way too, because you can easily imagine something like that being done and it coming across very pretentious and
it's
like
quite grounded
overstated, but it feels very natural for the world it's presenting. This feels like a very sincere portrait of it, which I think is quite an achievement, considering like
and I think
it's
really
not something you would expect from a world like that.
I like that the Lighthouse included in the Cagney season, because Reeves is perhaps an underrated actor in a lot of ways, like, and he's given some tough performances, no doubt about that, like most actors, but I think he's very good in this. In the way that he's very good in John Wick's and The Matrix and everything, but this is very different for him in terms of a lot of ways.
Well,
and he rose to the challenge, like in a very indie art.
This is very as a young actor, very formative experience.
Phoenix is great, and Phoenix has always been great in that way, and nobody doubts that from him. I think Reeves holds his own very much so.
Yeah. He seems very at home in that kind of highbrow setting, I think, which is something that maybe people who are more familiar with his latter day might not expect.
Yeah.
Even at the time, like, I mean, you're talking about things like Bill and Ted right around that time, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is brilliant.
Bill and Ted's amazing, and Anthony Corrigan starring in the sequel.
I heard.
I'm really excited.
I'm all over Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah, but it also underlines how much of a loss River Phoenix was, because he was such an instinctive,
devastating,
earthy actor, like incredible
they had it all
presence.
in that kind of way.
And was able to convey so much intensity just in the way he looked at people or things. Like, it's really, really sad.
Yeah, that is absolutely.
All right, and Jay, what have you watched since last we talked?
Yeah, I wasn't here last week, so I've only about 40 or 50 movies to go through. No, I'm joking.
No.
We are trying to keep the length of the podcast under control.
So this will only be a 4 hour. I started with A Day in the Country, which is a genre noir film on Criterion Channel. There's a couple of things to recommend this by. One, it's very good, but the other thing is 40 minutes long, which is
that gets it an extra half star at least.
Like seriously, this is a really interesting film. It's like a Parisian shop owner and his family go out to the country, and they're this kind of city folk, oh look, it's the country, and look, there's sunshine and
Orwell les enfants, eh?
Yeah.
I like the way you say that, like you wouldn't be one of those city people in the country
going,
oh my god,
I don't know, Jane.
No, he'd just integrate naturally. People would, he'd be there like 4 hours and would have a straw
There's
cap.
a farmer holding a pint of milk.
I'm going to give you a little tour of Mayo sometime, and you're just going to be like, ugh.
I'm kind of terrified. What is that smell?
That's actually something you probably would say.
Yeah, but this is really interesting. The family arrive at this kind of little inn by the river and decide to have lunch here and have the lunch outside and a picnic kind of thing, because they're French and picnics in the sunshine is fantastic. But it cuts to the scene of two guys sitting in the inside the inn looking out at the mother and the daughter are on swings, and they're like, I could get that one. You could have the mother. And they kind of thought, I was like, the husband is there, like, and it's like, okay, this is turning a little different than I was expecting. And it has this really odd tone. It's like a feverish fairy tale for about 40 minutes. And Renoir brilliantly sustains this and it's in this real dizzying brightness, like in the sunshine. It's this kind of, and it's obviously the black and white, but it's really glaring light that, and it almost makes the women in it when they're talking to the guy is almost kind of like around the verge of fainting, this kind of stylized kind of emotional pitch, which I really like. The cinematography is glorious, and the brightness kind of darkens in literally and figurative ways. Like, you know, it gets darker. There's a storm on the horizon, literally, and then they go on this kind of the one of the guys persuades the daughter to go on a boat trip, and she has to go and ask her father, and you know, and he's already kind of got in with the father by, you know, praising him, and his vanity is like, oh, he's such a lovely guy, you go, it's great, you know, and it's this kind of creepy underlying thing to it, and the tone is really odd. It's this constant nervous laughter to it. It's constant heightened weirdness to it, which I really liked. And there's kind of odd kind of reference to it, like things like if you've seen the Charles Lawton, Robert Mitchum film, The Night Hunter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It has that kind of dark fairy tale sense of something bad's going to happen here. And I'm not saying necessarily that it does as such on the surface, but there's underlying strangeness to it, and all this is encapsulated in 40 minutes, which is kind of dazzling. I really loved it. It's one of those films that I'm like, how is that on? Now, I read up a little bit subsequently that apparently it was cut down because he didn't finish it, so he had to do an edited thing. But my God, it's pretty complete, like in the sense that it works really well.
It's a complete unit of film or story.
I really liked it. It's on it's on Criterion's channel. If you have access to it, 40 minutes, it's no time out of your day. Like, it's an episode of TV. It's really good.
In fairness.
And then I watched Without Name, which Darren has been
one of my favourite Irish horror films of the past couple of
years. Apparently we've done more than one horror film that's good in Ireland.
Easy,
that's amazing.
Jay, easy.
I thought we've only done one, according to the reviews.
Anyway, I love both The Hole in the Ground and Without Name. There's a rich tradition of Irish horror.
Without Name is better than The Hole in the Ground.
Okay.
This used to be on Netflix. I feel like.
Did it? I missed it if it was.
I might be getting it confused with something else.
This is the one about the developer.
Lorcan Finnegan's film about a land surveyor working in this kind of woodland area who kind of...
Oh, yeah, I've read the synopsis,
he's disturbed by kind of things that happen amongst the trees, you know. You kind of get
I love that shite.
Me too, right?
It's a pagan horror film. It's basically the Irish
Forests are inherently terrifying.
And also the idea of the natural landscape of Ireland, the fact that we never tamed it and controlled it, and the weird relationship that Ireland has with land, which is very much what Finnegan does. Foxes, for example, was his short film before this, and afterwards he's doing Vivarium as well with Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes.
And is it Mia Wasikowski who's the...
No, it's Imogen Poots.
It's Imogen Poots, sorry, apologies. But yeah, he's doing like... so again,
it does feel like kind of a shame that we don't have more of this kind of particular horror.
I like that it exists.
Because we certainly have the landscape for it. There's something very sinister about a lot of, especially out in the West.
And the psychology as well behind it, because I mean the landscape horror is the idea that the land will turn on you and like kill you, which is, you know, a reflection of like the fear of things like the famine, for example, when the land did nearly kill us.
But even when you get the to the point, I agree with the famine kind of aspects of it, but even when you get to the kind of idea of ownership of land and same, and how much we cling to it in terms of our identity and our self-worth and all the rest of it. And I think it gets at that really well here. It's like it feels very 2019. Well, it's a 2016 film. Like it feels like really up to date in that regard. And it's just, and the idea of living, breathing land, which are really, it's both kind of literal and kind of allegorical. I
really loved it.
What I really liked it too, and what I really liked about it,
a rare shot of the two of you agreeing.
I know. Let's
maybe
capture
not
this
to the
moment.
same extent, but agreement nevertheless.
Which means that when Grace sees it, she will inevitably hate it.
Yeah.
Aww.
No, you won't. I think you'll like it. But it refrains.
If it sticks the landing, I'm happy.
We said this before about horror films.
It's very firmly grounded.
That take 20 minutes to explain exactly what the background is.
Yeah, like the third act, a bunch of exposition.
Extremely and admirably refrains from this,
which is part
of
the
most part, which makes a lot about it.
Again, it's a pagan horror film. You don't need it explained.
No, you don't. I mean, you should instinctually know the kind of thing it's going for, and I think you do, and I think it's very clear. The cinematography is superb. Yeah, it's extremely creepy without being scary, and I like creepy without being scary.
I like
if you can manage it well. Like it doesn't. There's no jumps, and I don't mind. I can take or leave jumps, but it has a sense of dread and a sense of the land knows more than you do, and will always know more than you do. You idiot wandering around.
Well, it's also inevitably going to outlast you.
Oh well, that's exactly it.
Like, everything that's around you that makes
but it hits on all those points, which is very impressive. Without over egging it and explaining it, which I really like.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
That's impressive. I think you'll really like it, Grace.
I do like a pervasive sense of dread.
This is
also because it's harder to capture. So I feel like when people do that, they've already done something very good.
Yeah.
So super.
I'll mention Craig's Wife, which is one of the Columbia Noirs, which are disappearing on the June 30th. So from Criterion.
What is the deal with the Criterion Channel and movies cycling in and out?
They cycle in and out. They have a thing for a certain point, and then not all do. But
okay, because I was going to say
Columbia Noirs are going. I don't know when they're if and when they're coming back, but. I've about 4 to watch, so I've got to get my skates on. I know,
but they're all only like 20 minutes long.
No,
right?
they're not. There's actually one that's 2 hours and 4 minutes, which is disgusting, quite frankly. So I'm gonna have to factor in time. But I watched one called Craig's Wife, which is really, really interesting. It's a Dorothy Arzner film. Actually, I'm not even sure if it is one of the noirs. Actually, now I think about it, I think it might be just on the thing. But Dorothy Arzner is one of the kind of few female directors of the olden times, aka the 30s. And she was kind of precursor of Ida Lupino, who would have been the kind of 40s and 50s kind of stock woman directing. Because you only have one per decade. Otherwise it'll get crazy.
Well, I mean, outside the 20s.
Otherwise,
but
they might get notions above their station.
But Arzner made this film called
that
Craig's
air
Wife.
quotes on round fix it in case any listeners are concerned.
And the subtitle of it is "What was the sin of Craig's wife?" ? And this story about a woman called Harriet, right, played by Rosalind Russell. It was fantastic. Who's this wife in this upper class marriage.
Sorry, delayed reaction. I love Rosalind Russell.
She's fantastic.
It took a minute for that to sink in.
That's all right. And there's this thing where she's in this marriage and everything's going great.
Sorry, rustling up some enthusiasm there.
And she meets somebody and then has a conversation with this woman about relationships and how you keep them well. And she's like, well, you keep control of her, you keep her around the prize, which is to own everything. She's just the ultimate social climber and doesn't give a fuck about anyone. Which is kind of made, but she does this in such subtle ways that it's like, hang on, what'd she just say? You're just kind of, because she's all kind of, and then boom. And this is like 75 minutes where people catch up with her. There's this kind of the mother-in-law living with them who knows that she's no good. She knows that the mother-in-law knows she's no good, and she doesn't give a flying. Like, the husband is this classic dupe who thinks she loves him, and like they're all crazy. You know what I mean? And it's this encircling kind of trap that she's trying to extricate herself from these people, and then people start to kind of twig it, and it's glorious. It's this kind of it's a massive repudiation of traditional roles in a household, which I really like. It's like, yeah, wives don't necessarily have to do that.
It sounds vaguely All About Eve.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in a good way.
But this is economic. It's beautifully paced. It's a drama essentially, but it plays like a creepy 70s thriller in lots of ways.
You get that wonderful sort of acerbic undertones in some of those older films that people don't always give them credit for.
At it, and it's an extremely satisfying ending. Brilliant. Which I will not say, but you gotta watch it. This is one of those endings that you both win and lose it, which is a very difficult thing to do. Do you know, where you can be satisfied by both sides of the thing, which I love this. I absolutely loved it. And again, 74 minutes. That's just, what do you do making films, long films? Sorry, The Loved Ones, Australian B-movie horror, which is fantastic.
Everybody's been raving about this.
This is great.
What's it about?
This is Grace.
It's always great.
You're gonna love this. I'm gonna tell you all about it
in a non-spoilery way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Basically, this is a story about a young girl that asks a guy to the prom.
Okay.
And Australia has a prom, which is really bizarre. But he says no. Right?
I mean, here we are the Debs.
I know. But she doesn't get what she wants, so she decides, nah, that's not gonna cut it.
Is she gonna murder him?
Things ensue. That's all I'll say.
Is it like Jennifer's Body?
It's like a Jennifer's Body crossed with a drill.
I love it. Sounds class.
It's Robin McLeavy is the name of the girl, and the lead, the actress, and she is fantastic. Her face, her reactions to scenes, and how she kind of shows her disdain for the world are immense and priceless. It's this kind of story of like horror, mounting horror, slight bit of torture, and then this undercutting of black comedy through it. Not too much to kind of spoil the kind of tone, but just enough to kind of, what the flip is happening here. And again, this I think is only about 84 minutes, but it keeps it going all the way through. There's a touch of Texas Chainsaw Massacre about it.
Yeah.
Which I really liked.
Oh, the poster looks interesting.
It's really funny and much
Will
darker.
it have Texas Chainsaw Mass appeal?
Maybe. My wife was unsure about when she she read the blurb. I don't know about this, but near the end, she was kind of clinging desperately to the tension of it. So it's really good.
As far as Australian horrors go, this is truly a loved one.
Yes.
It also has a Twilight alum.
There you go.
So I approve.
All right.
As always.
One last one before I finish. One sings, the other doesn't. The last great Varda, I guess, in the sense that I missed in when the IFI had their season was added to Criterion Channel, and I'd missed it when it came out. I'd missed it in the cinema, so I was like, yes, let's watch this. And this is a fantastic story of friendship and mostly about reproductive rights, which is Varda's kind of attempt, because she was on protest in the 70s about abortion facilities in France at the time. And it's this kind of film that goes on, I think it goes about 10-15 years of her friendship between two women who kind of drift in and out of each other's lives. And it's really, really interesting. They have kind of children, they don't have children. Some of them, it's kind of dismissed, but then it's all, it's kind of just weird. Like, it's part musical. There's songs in it, but then the other part of it's like compassionate feminist epic. And it is epic in the way that, an intimate epic, in the sense that it feels huge and about the world and about the people without, you don't need a vista with a plane landing on it with a sun behind it to make it epic, if you guess. It's really funny, very moving, really spot on about friendship and how people can disappear from your life, but 2 minutes later you can catch up with them after 10 years,
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that kind of...
The older I get, this is just one of those sort of emotional sort of buttons that I have where I'm just like, friends that you haven't seen in ages that you see again, and it's like no time has passed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing.
It catches that superbly. And that kind of friendship and equality in it, and that the respect around it. And it ends on this kind of weird little... It's hopeful note, I guess, but it's very fragile hope. It's like kind of, it's delicate. It's really, really fantastic. It's a Varda film. What more do you want? She's possibly the best filmmaker of the 20th century.
Chef's kiss.
She's incredible.
And yes.
My lord,
What's it called again? Sorry.
One sings, the other doesn't.
One sings, the others.
It's very literal. I don't know what the French is for it, so it's probably kind of something more.
I shall Google it.
I imagine that a Google search will bring it up.
Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce it, so I just call it what the English title will be. I suppose we should mention one more film, Grace.
We. I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
At the last few weeks, myself and Grace have rewatched Batman Forever.
Sorry, the French translate. It's a literal translation of the French. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So sorry, Batman Forever, Grace.
Batman Forever, a strange, obscure film that absolutely no one will have heard of. Do you want to go first? Or
we should set this out. We know it's pretty clear. We've had this conversation over many times, but Darren is not a Batman Forever fan.
Which makes us sad.
It is, but that's okay.
To be fair, let's give Batman Forever its credit.
Oh, I don't. Right, I'm waiting for
24 films starring Batman that I have seen produced between 1941 and the present day. Batman Forever lands squarely. It isn't the worst.
It's like 22nd
of 24. It is 22nd of 24. It's directly, it's above Justice League. It might be above Suicide Squad on a good day.
Jeez,
boo.
Nonsense.
It is awful.
But
anyway.
It is so not awful.
But that's fair enough. Darren set a stall out. That's fine. We can ignore him from now on. But
hey, I've not even set my stall out.
Your stall is done, Darren. You've closed that stall. This is mine and Grace's turn now.
I've set up a little rental agreement.
Yeah, we know where you stand. I don't know sure else.
I'm sorry, you're being drowned out by a U2 riff. Yeah. Drifting in from the background.
Also,
the soundtrack is great. The soundtrack is legitimately great. It's the best part of the film.
One of the finest soundtracks of the 90s.
What I will say about it, and in fairness, I hadn't rewatched it in a long time, but I did like it when it came out. To say, and I was a Burton fan as well, so I'd seen the Burton films. So this was quite a change. And if you remember, there wasn't 6 months of tedious internet fucking talk about it back in 1995.
I'm gonna raise my hand and say that there was an internet talk, but this was, you knew a Batman film was coming.
Yes,
Batman
but
not
to the extent
not in the way that these things are now.
Have you not Like, I mean,
in 1995, Darren.
Okay, I'm just saying
there wouldn't
like,
be the
in
same. There wouldn't be the same level of saturation.
Okay, in 1989, the bat symbol was everywhere.
I know it's TV and advertising and hoarding. So I understand that films have always been advertised. No, I'm talking about the obsessive fucking.
Yeah, like you wouldn't get a trailer where it shows you the last 4 seconds of the trailer before it plays the rest of the trailer, and a trailer for the trailer.
You might not get people
for the trailer,
releasing articles about the trailer,
and obviously not.
Presumably, fewer people making an edit where they cut all the women out of it because they're sad fucking losers. So
yeah, that might not have existed.
But my point is that these things were ubiquitous at the time.
Of course they were.
Yeah, but just not in the same way that they are today, I don't think.
But they were events, Darren. It wasn't like, if you don't like this, they were events, and like, because it was the first time they had superhero films hit land that big in a while, the Batman ones, like in terms of box office.
Yeah.
So this is Joel Schumacher replacing Tim Burton.
Yes. After a variety of arguments and creative disagreements over the adult content of Batman Returns and the audience's reaction to it.
I can understand it. I can understand why they changed it up. But the interesting rewatch of it is that, and this goes back to something we were talking about, Darren, in terms of, and you may not agree with this, you probably won't. We were talking about Punisher Warzone and Lexi Alexander. So.
Yes, which is great.
Right, and which we both love. Yeah. But I'm increasingly, as I get older, drawn to that superhero thing in the way Darkman is, in the way cartoonish. Yeah. And wherever about Batman Forever, you cannot say it's not cartoonish.
No, I can say it's not good.
You can say that, but I like this kind of, this is my superhero type thing.
Absolutely.
That's my aesthetic.
I absolutely adore cartoonish Batman. I'm a huge fan of Batman 66. Is easily one of the top 5
This is different. This is somewhere between kind of a 66 and a
even the Burton films, I would argue, are cartoonish. But I mean, even
they are, but they're cartoonish in a really beautifully stylized way. Like I really love the world that Burton created. I love how intense and how gothic it feels, and how everything feels like
to Burton Batman.
I'm not as big into Batman Returns as a lot of other people. I love the first Batman. I really love it.
Batman Returns is the best Christmas movie ever.
It's not.
Stop it there.
The story about being alone and depressed.
It's a Wonderful Life is the best
made.
Christmas movie ever. Stop your nonsense.
I like Miracle on 34th Street.
Michael Keaton sitting in his room waiting for the Batlight to come on in his heart. Tell me that doesn't speak to you.
Let's get back to Batman
Forever. It doesn't speak to me personally at Christmas. But,
Batman Forever is a day-glow nightmare of a film.
It is wonderful.
And in that way, and it's scenery chewing and about 1,000 Dutch angles because Schumacher can't set a camera straight ever. Throughout the whole film, I'm here for it. Like,
yep. I mean, like again, Batman 66.
Batman Forever is like.
We know.
Forever is like if Riverdale made Batman.
That's exactly it.
Ludicrous, and it's
ludicrous. It's occasionally
fun.
lurid. It's occasionally weird. It's kind of strange. It's kind of funny, but not really. It's kind of action-filled, but not really. It's a bit of everything, not doing everything, but kind of all hangs together.
Okay.
It's such a fun, fantastical adventure. But I mean, the things that I love about it are the really cartoonish elements, like the way Gotham is presented as this weird place where giant statues hold up motorways for some bizarre reason, and where like all of Two-Face's goons dress exactly the same. They have identical piercings. They have identical like vests that they've ripped the sleeves off. They have identical neon nunchucks in parts.
I mean, they have like
how can you not like this? It is so funny.
I'm ready to answer that, but anyway.
I'll let you answer in a second. But I will say as well, and it probably goes a little too far in Batman and Robin, but
it does. That goes over the line.
I actually like Batman and Robin much more than
kinky.
Get out.
This is kinky and weird in it. Like there's underlying sexuality to some that's very strange and very alluring and very lurid and winky, and it's Val Kilmer. We talked about Val Kilmer. Sorry,
this is
different though.
There's a lot of like
this is S&M compared to
going on in Batman
more
Forever.
so. I think this is in a kind of
This is like Hollywood S&M, whereas Batman Returns is like proper.
Really...
No, it has Michelle Pfeiffer. I understand that.
It's fun because there's like that whole part where like Nicole Kidman is so manifestly thirsty for Val Kilmer's Batman that she's actually like feeling his chest and going, "Ooh, black rubber."
The thing is, right?
Like, and that's an actual line of dialogue.
Yeah. But that's exactly the thing. The thing about Batman Returns is Batman Returns couldn't get away with it because it made the implicit explicit, right? This gets away with it. Because it coats it all in this kind of weird comedy 66-esque vibe that then you kind of miss half the time. That's very, very strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
He drives the Batmobile up a wall.
Also, sorry,
it's wonderful.
Yeah, also point out that we discussed Top Gun a while ago.
Yes.
And the unique strangeness of Val Kilmer in how he delivers lines, how he stands still, how he looks. And he gives Batman this odd presence. And like and Bruce Wayne and all the rest of it, he's like, whoa, I'm Batman. It's like,
that's very Keanu
Reeves. Like every now and then he wakes up and remembers who he is.
It's
like the part that always stands out to me is, you know, that part where like he's coming down because he has an appointment with Nicole Kidman's character, Dr. Chase Meridian, who has a fantastic,
which is such a Riverdale
fantastic name. But he hears like what sounds like a scuffle, and then he breaks down the door of her apartment, and he's just like, oh, sorry, kind of thing, and he just lifts up the door and replaces it. And like nothing is said about it. She's just like, oh well, I need a new door. Like, it's fine.
It's that kind of I like
but
the tone
it's that
of
moments where he's just kind of standing there going, oh yeah, I'm Bruce Wayne. I'm someone
really
important.
should have kept Kilmer. Because he's miles better than Kilmer.
I've actually conducted research into this actually in preparation.
Of course you have.
The Hollywood Reporter ran a survey last week to mark the casting of Robert Pattinson.
The Hollywood Reporter, Jay's favourite publication.
Yes.
But I mean, like,
did he make 12 articles out of this?
Also, let's not even get started on Robert Pattinson.
But an actual scientific study, like survey, quality,
by the Hollywood Reporter.
And they ranked, basically, they asked the American public and they asked the public in general
noted for their strong decisions,
what their opinions were and how they would rank the best Batman.
Go on.
And basically the results, are we particularly interested in the results?
Yeah, I kind of want to hear.
Interesting enough, and I was really disappointed with this, they left Adam West off, because Adam West and they left Kevin Conroy off, and that's, you know, I can understand that because Master of the Phantasm is a bit of niche property. But anyway,
people
the ranking.
love Kevin Conroy though.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
he's
amazing.
Like he comes to Comic-Con like every week, every year, and people do be like mobbing him.
But anyway, so do we want to start at the bottom or the top?
Start at the top and don't even tell us the bottom.
Okay.
Just tell us like the top 3.
I'm okay, well, top one is Bale, right?
Top one's Bale.
Ew.
Then
second Keaton,
Second
Keaton should be top.
Then
I go.
They're very close to one another, and
Keaton,
I think that's fair. I think the public got it right in this case. It's Bale narrowly, and then it's Keaton. Then there's a big gap.
Divorce Christian Bale from it, though.
Then there's Clooney.
No, he's terrible.
Again, Americans make terrible decisions.
I've been saying this forever.
Clooney is fantastic as Bruce Wayne. Clooney is the best Bruce Wayne the franchise ever had.
In the same way that like Batfleck is good as Bruce Wayne?
Yeah. Batfleck is next, which means at the bottom of the pile, by a significant distance, is...
Kilmer.
Yeah.
But they're
These people are all fucking idiots.
They're idiots.
Absolute idiots.
One and all.
What sad loser picks George
Nobody
Clooney
gives the big dick energy that
Val Kilmer.
I'm going to raise my hand. That survey is pretty much the inside of Darren's head when it comes to...
Kilmer brings big dick energy to Batman.
Terrifying place.
That's all I got to say.
What I like about Val Kilmer is that there's some... Like, he is believable as... In terms of presenting Bruce Wayne as a sort of heartthrob... Like,
this is what I want people to see me as.
Yeah, like he's believable in that sense, a lot more so than a lot of the other characters who have played Batman. Like, I do prefer Michael Keaton overall because I like that he has a certain edge to him that I think comes through.
Yeah, there's a darkness to him like that.
Yeah,
in a way, and he's almost anti-casting.
Well, it's also weird. Like again, like it's this idea. Like you can buy.
He's kooky.
Well, you can buy Michael Keaton as a billionaire.
A curly fro thing going on.
But you can buy Michael Keaton as a billionaire whose dream is to turn himself into a giant bat. Like that's.
I believe Michael Keaton wants to hang upside down.
Yeah,
every single goddamn time.
And glues his arms to his chest. Yeah. And he has good lips for the Batkill. Not as good as Kilmer's lips, but good lips nevertheless.
Kilmer was a handsome devil back then.
Oh my god, he was a babe.
My god.
I was so in love with him when I was younger, and I was so in love with Chris O'Donnell. And this movie, it's astonishing to me that I survived it. Also because...
Stop it, Aaron.
Like, Chris O'Donnell does be, like, going through this with, like, his angst and his earring and his leather jacket and his motorbike. And, like, what was I supposed to do as a poor little 9-year-old? Like, I had no defences.
I will point out, just before we finish on this, that the introduction of Chris O'Donnell's Robin is miles, and I mean miles better than fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt in...
Funny you should mention that, Jay. That's a nice bridge over to what I watched.
Do it.
No. Before we finish,
I think we're happy.
No.
You're wrong, Darren. Myself and Grace are right. We can leave it at that.
You want to know what my issue with Batman Forever is?
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
My issue with Batman Forever is not that it's kooky or it's campy or it's fun. I actually much prefer Batman and Robin because it's kooky and campy and silly and goofy and has puns.
Because he has a bat credit card?
He has puns with an expiry date of forever.
It's only puns. It's always puns.
It's goofy, it's silly, it's ridiculous, it's in your face, it's absurd, it's bright, it's neon glow.
But it's not entertainingly so. Batman Forever is entertainingly daft.
Batman Forever is that you watch it and you think that the people involved at some point genuinely believed they were making a film, a proper serious film.
I don't believe that at all.
Have you not read any interviews with Schumacher? No. But I mean, even within the film,
Schumacher's a little deluded in fairness. Like, I mean, you know that from all his films. I love Schumacher too. But there's a Schumacher thinks he's William Friedkin, right?
World. You know?
Schumacher thinks he's William Friedkin. Everybody else thinks he's Joel Schumacher. That's the problem with Schumacher.
Okay, but even within
Schumacher
Batman
gave
Forever,
us the Lost Boys. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and I mean, even like I kind of like A Time to Kill despite all its problems, and that's
I kind of like all Schumacher films despite all their problems.
I mean,
like literally all of them.
You're just sitting there going, "Oh, you."
But I mean, the issue with Batman Forever is that there's a sense within it that like Schumacher's like he's actually making a proper film, and you have like this image of like the bat flapping through in the night, and the sense that Batman. I'm not Batman because I need to be. I'm Batman because I choose to be. And it's like, are you making a point? Are you making an argument about this character?
Darren, you think too much about Batman.
No. But
you're like just like, for your therapist here.
I absolutely
it's
adore
an intervention.
Adam West Batman, who's like, my parents are dead. Mention it once in the first episode, and
that's
all.
Your parents.
That's all it is.
Yeah, but that's superhero culture, though. In fairness,
that's fine.
Schumacher,
okay, but my point is more that like it's possible to do that without like doing the really melodramatic, absurd stuff or the heavy, dark stuff. But you can't do that and then do the camp stuff and expect them to gel.
Can. And it does.
I think it actually works because it heightens the melodrama of his past.
And it is melodrama. It's not drama. It is melodrama in exactly that way.
Like, it actually seems to fit in perfectly in this world.
That's a perfect pitch in tone. Because that show was fucking out there. And it pitches exactly at that point.
I look into Val Kilmer's dead, beady eyes, and
I won't have a bad word said against our Val.
I didn't say they weren't sexy, dead, beady eyes.
No, you didn't, in fairness.
But I look into his dead, beady eyes.
Val Kilmer has more gravitas as an actor than any of you give him credit for.
I love Val Kilmer.
I think Val Kilmer can be very well used.
Val Kilmer is a better Batman than George Clooney.
No.
He's a better Batman than
George
Ben
Clooney
Affleck.
doesn't even
He's a better
seem
Batman
like a Batman to
than
me,
Christian
though. He's
Bale.
just kind of George Clooney. The thing is, I think Christian Bale is very good as Batman, but it's very hard for me to not
Nobody
see.
knows my voice.
It's very hard for me to not see Christian
Bale. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, Grace.
No, it's just very hard for me to not see Christian Bale. Like Christian Bale at your party eating all the pizza, hitting on your niece. You've heard this song, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Like, I just see Christian Bale. Which
hitting your niece is so perfect.
But, like,
you can somehow look past Val Kilmer.
No, Val Kilmer do with a smile on his face.
Val Kilmer is believable as this absolute loser of a millionaire.
Like Val Kilmer, yeah, exactly that. Kilmer is like, he knows he's a bit of a douche. He's probably not the worst Batman in that regard, but he's far from the best. Adam West is the best in that regard.
West is fantastic.
Adam West is your uncle. He'll take your niece out of the party to protect her.
Yeah.
That's what Adam West would do.
Adam West is the guy
Christian Bale is there eating all your pizza.
Who walks into the bar in the first episode of Batman, says like, I'll just go to the bar and order myself a drink. I order myself a glass of milk. I shouldn't want to draw attention. Which is great. I love Adam West Batman. Anyway, sorry. But I guess that brings us neatly to what I watched. And I rewatched The Dark Knight Rises. Which is the best third Batman film in a series.
You've watched like thousands of times.
I've thrown it down. The
best Batman film ever?
The best third Batman film in a series by a significant margin. It's not even close.
Parts of it are good.
Hang on.
There's only one other third Batman film in the series.
So Batman Forever is a better film?
No, it's the best.
It's a better film.
It is not a better film.
It's a better film.
It is not.
It's a better film.
Jay, we can keep doing this.
Oh, we will. I've got all night.
I would probably watch Batman Forever before I'd watch The Dark Knight Rises.
And then some.
Anyway, Dark Knight Rises.
I don't mind The Dark Knight Rises, but I'm
going to rewatch because Darren keeps banging on about every flipping podcast, so I will rewatch it.
The Dark Knight Rises is the best movie of 2016, just released 4 years too early. It's absolutely fascinating. It's this exploration.
It probably would make more sense, in fairness, if it was released now than when it was actually released.
It's a story about class, about wealth, about the idea of the obligation that the people owe to society.
Things
and the idea
Nolan knows loads about.
Well, hey, to be fair. But
I'm a privileged British white male. Sorry, continue.
Okay. Still doesn't change the fact that, yes, it is a very well-observed piece of social commentary that tracks into this idea of resentment and wealth distribution, and the idea of simmering class tensions that erode and collapse and, basically attack American society's foundations.
And also Nolan's complete inability to convey the passage of time, which is something that came up in Dunkirk as well, where it's like, it's meant to have been 6 months since this descended upon Gotham, like WTF.
Well, I mean, it is literally...
How did you convey that? With the falling of snow? Yes. Congratulations,
I actually don't mind that.
You were profound.
That's exactly what Lady Bird does. But anyway, sorry.
No, actually it isn't.
It is exactly
what it is. Totally not.
It is exactly what Lady Bird does. Anyway,
don't be so silly.
It is exactly... Anyway.
forgot what I was going to say now. Thank you all.
Thank you, Unky J.
I'm asleep now.
Anyway,
if you hear snores, just somebody prod me and wake me up.
Anyway, so that's grand. Fantastic. One of the best film of 2016, just released 4 years ago.
Everybody who listens to this podcast is groaning now, Darren.
Also,
except the ones who agree with them.
Also rewatched. I know it's fantastic, and again, it's Nolan having great fun in the comic book wheelhouse.
Nolan and fun are not things that belong in the same sentence. I can just imagine him sitting there going, "I feel uncomfortable," and leaving.
That's a little unfair, a little harsh. This is a movie that features a flying bat plane.
Yes, well, when he's sitting there watching 2001 for the 900th time, I'm sure he cares.
And a riffing.
There is a man who knows how to party.
A famous riff. It actually has a better homage to Batman 66 than Batman Forever. Batman Forever has its holy metal Batman, whereas Batman...
Holy rusted metal Batman, excuse you.
Yeah. Whereas The Dark Knight Rises actually has some days you can't get rid of a bomb, as its like central premise, which I absolutely adore.
And let's not forget Catwoman backflipping out of a window in high heels. That's a thing that happens.
Anyway, so in terms of other stuff that I watched Sanjuro, which is the Akira Kurosawa's second sequel, the sequel to Yojimbo. First time watch for me.
I've never seen it.
It's great fun. It's pure pulp. It was, again, Akira Kurosawa being Akira Kurosawa. He was adapting Yamamoto's novel Peaceful Days, and then released Yojimbo. Yojimbo turned out to be a massive success. The studio were like, hey, you got any more of this? And he's like, well, I have this other script I'm working on. I was like, yeah, turn that into a sequel to Yojimbo. So he basically sticks in this character, Sanjuro, into the narrative, and basically proceeds to rip through it. It's fantastic. It's this sort of like almost parody of this old-fashioned sort of samurai epic.
I'm pretty underseen on Kurosawa. I've seen a handful, like the kind of famous ones.
Well, the big ones.
But I know they're all in Criterion, so I'm going to get to them eventually when I've more time, when I win the lotto.
That's it, exactly. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I'm underseen outside of the samurai stuff. I mean,
be an expert.
Go ahead. Well, if you look at Kurosawa's filmography in terms of contextualizing.
I think, yes, if you do.
But quite. But no, Sanjuro is great fun. It's nowhere near as, like, inverted commas, important as Yojimbo is. Yojimbo being a commentary on contemporary Japanese society. Sanjuro is just Kurosawa having like a month off, because again he would edit these movies as he'd shoot them, so he'd famously wrap them up 4 days before the premiere and basically release them there, which is astounding in terms of production.
That's a little terrifying.
Well, I mean, Sanjuro was produced within 6 months of the release of Yojimbo, which is just again. And you can kind of like imagine telling a director today you have to produce a sequel to this massive hit. I have to say, sorry,
Yojimbo just sounds like a Dublin thing. Yo, Jimbo!
Get
in there!
Yo,
Jimbo, what are you doing?
Anyway, after watching Sanjuro, I had a bit of a yearning to watch more samurai films, and I noticed that the Criterion app now has Chromecasting as an option.
You're all over it.
Well, you can broadcast to your television if you don't own a fancy
Fire Stick. Welcome to 2019.
Yeah, I mean, people have Fire Sticks, but I use Chromecast. So this was a great option. Watch some Godzilla on there, which is great. Love Godzilla. Gojira! Versus Mecha Gojira. But they also have the Lone Wolf and Cub series on there at the moment as well, which is very worth checking out.
Which is on my list to watch. And has been for quite some time since Filmstruck.
Pure schlocky action movie stuff. Again, this is pure like 1970s adaptation of a beloved manga. It's goofy, it's very silly, the plotting is ridiculously overwrought to the point of like heightened melodrama. There's this 10-minute scene in which the main character slowly figures out that he's been betrayed, like 10 minutes after the audience has already got there, because he has to...
Wait a minute!
Yeah, he has to lay out the entire historical politics of Japan. But underneath it all, it's got
rough deal.
Striking visuals, solid thematic kind of underpinnings. Again, it's this story about like an older generation that has failed their children, that has created a world. It's basically like The Road, but with a pram that has knives built into it, which, I mean, come on.
My kind of pram.
Who hasn't looked at The Road and said, you know what, this needs razor blades, baby?
Razor blades and a pram.
It's set in a feudal Japan where apparently everybody suffers...
Is there any other kind of Japan?
Everybody suffers from absurdly high blood pressure.
Yeah.
So to the point where, like,
right.
when you stab somebody in the neck or, like, across their chest...
I've seen the bit you've released, the little gif you put up,
You know, you're practically doing them a mercy, because, let's face it, they probably weren't going to live to the end of the week if their blood pressure was that high. It is pure schlock through and through. It's incredibly trashy. Again, this is exploitation cinema 101. There's a really graphic, unnecessary sexual assault sequence that is followed by weird, trashy art house like sex scene intercut with 3 different angles overlaid with one another. That's equally creepy and
who doesn't love those?
That's again, this is pure. You can tell that like when they're designing this, it's like this is going straight onto the B movie. There were 6 different movies in the series produced, adapting the manga from beginning to end, and there was also even what was it called? There was even the American dub, which is Shogun Assassin, which was the first 2 movies sort of mashed together to kind of became one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite films, as you might imagine. Of course, it bloody. But anyway, let's move on to covering the week in film news.
There's the week in film news. Tell me all, Darren.
All right then. So our attempts to sort of cut down and shorten the what we watched this week segment may not have worked.
No, I haven't been on in 2 weeks. In fairness,
we were definitely more spare than we could have been.
Were we?
Yeah.
All right. Good for us.
I think we were.
So, again, lots of news coming out from the Galway Film Fleadh, which is happening in 3 weeks' time, I believe, actually. We're all very, very excited about this.
I cannot wait.
It's
Jay's highlight of the year.
It is indeed. Well, it's a lot of people's highlight of the year.
It's film Christmas.
As well.
So much pizza.
And Grace is also heading down, and Niall will be there as well. I'm afraid I, unfortunately, won't.
As you were saying, like, Niall will be there as well, I'm afraid.
Niall, we will hang out with you. Even if it's a pity hangout.
No, Niall will be down there as well. Grace will be down there. Ronan and Jay will be down there as well. So if you are at the Film Fleadh, please feel free to say hello. We're all
not me, though. Don't say hello to me. No, I'm joking. Do say hello.
Do say hello to Jay, just so we can take a picture of his face.
Running from the 9th of July through the 14th. There are a number of masterclasses taking place, which are
I'm giving one, finally.
Well, I'm glad that we have exclusive. We have an exclusive sort of on the podcast here. But yeah, it'll be the Countess Markovich story. He'll be enacting it with shadow puppets. But yeah,
amazing.
I know tickets are already gone.
It's sold out instantaneously. It's the
you
most
get them
incredible
on
success in the history of the
Seatway for 400 quid each.
Standing
I wouldn't
room
recommend
only.
it.
But yeah, in terms of masterclasses that are actually happening,
yes,
Ross and John Hubbard of Hubbard's Casting are returning to host their hugely popular
Hubbard in the Cupboard. That would have been a great name.
I mean,
you can have that for free.
There's your pitch right there. This is why Jay couldn't get his own masterclass, because he was too busy pitching names. It's like, we like the name. It's like, what's
too
behind
political.
It?
That's the problem.
You're a hot potato.
He's being censored because of his politics.
But Ross and John Hubbard are hosting their casting workshop in association with Spotlight on Saturday the 13th.
Very good.
Alison Anders is the subject of the Writers' Masterclass. It will be taking place on Thursday the 11th of July.
Alison Anders is a fantastic
Kentucky-born, LA-raised, who's written on stuff like Border Radio, Gas Food Lodging, Mi Vida Loca, Grace of Heart, and Sugar
Grace of My Heart is brilliant. It's one of my favourite Alison Anders films. It's glorious.
She's also directed episodes of Sex and the City, Orange is the New Black, Southland, Riverdale, Grace.
Beautiful.
Murder in the First, and recently Sorry for Your Loss.
And she's only one day being off my birthday, unfortunately, but she's not.
And she's nominated for an Emmy for Best Director for the Lifetime movie Ring of Fire, wherein she cast John Doe as the father of country music A.P. Carter.
Interesting.
She's a MacArthur Fellow as well, and won a Peabody Award. So yes.
Yeah, but seriously, watch Grace of My Heart, and that's your name, Grace, and everything. So you think
you'll
love it.
They'll be screening Gas Food Lodging on Wednesday, the 10th of July,
which is also good.
Which is the. Have you seen it as well?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's very good.
Perfect.
I haven't seen it in years, but it's very
good. This year's Director's Masterclass will be given by Gurinder Chadha.
Of
Blinded by the Light, Baji on the Beach.
Yeah.
So basically,
new film out as well, I think.
Yeah, she has indeed. She's returning actually with Blinded by the Light, and that one is. But yeah, it's starring actors like Hayley Atwell and Rob Brydon as well, supporting a young and talented multi-ethnic cast as well. So there's that happening as well. And then Will Forte will be delivering the Actors Masterclass on Saturday the 14th.
Well, that is his forte, in fairness.
Hi. Oh,
sorry.
Would you go if you were the last man on Earth?
I might.
But yeah, so there's a host of fascinating stuff happening there. And I mean, this is not the only thing. There's a host
the actual... Don't bury the lead, Darren. Tell it.
Okay. The Film Fleadh has announced a number. Now, it hasn't announced its full programme, but
just this one. Tell me this one.
Okay.
This is exciting. You know the one I'm talking about.
I know the one you're talking about. You're talking about Cagney and Lacey.
Cagney and MNF and Lacey.
Okay. They're not coming... Well,
Tyne Daly is.
Yeah.
Tyne Daly is coming over for... Because she's a film coming out, Bread Factory 1 and 2, which are supposed to be superb. And they're showing a Cagney and Lacey double bill!
Yeah, they're showing a 2-part episode, actually.
Are you excited, Jay?
Astonishingly so.
Yeah.
My favourite Cagney and Lacey factoid is the way Terry in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, his daughters are called Cagney and Lacey.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
But yeah, they'll be screening the classic 2-parter Turn, Turn, Turn as well. And they'll be hosting a discussion as well.
I loved that show when it was growing up. Loved it.
So that's taking place. What day? Do you know when that is?
No, I do not, Darren. Okay. That's your job. I'm here to talk about stuff. I can't be giving dates and stuff. Come on,
Okay, all right then.
Jesus.
fine.
What do you
You're
think
meant to
I
be the
am?
organised one, Darren.
Come on, Darren. Like, we're
the rest of us
spoofers.
just show off and
we
spoof semi-drunken crap.
I'm barely semi-coherent at the best of time, Darren.
But yeah, so in terms of other stuff that's happening, Jihadi Jane will be having its, or Jihad Jane will be having its world premiere at the 31st Galway Film Fleadh.
Oh.
We announced some of the films that are in the lineup already, but Jihad Jane is the latest announced.
Okay.
It's directed by Kieran Cassidy and produced by Fastnet Films.
Very
It's
good.
a story of the most absurd terror cell ever to come together. It's a tale of two women who went looking for love online and became the new face of the war on terror.
You could do that, Grace.
Jesus. Me?
You could be the new face in the war on terror.
I sincerely hope not.
In terms
That's
of
a level of public
Jihadi Grace.
recognition that I'm just not willing to open myself up to.
Dating
But-
profile.
Yeah.
I could go for Jihad right now.
As you mentioned already, Blinded by the Light is there as well.
Yes.
But there's also European premieres at Galway will include the American indie drama Adam, the slice of life drama Driveways, which are both produced by the former CEO of Focus Pictures, James Shamus, as
Who
well.
produced a lot of Ang Lee films.
Yeah.
What's his kind of known for?
Yeah, which is very worth seeking out as well. So there's a whole host of stuff there. And again, check out galwayfilmfleadh.com.
And I think the 25th of June is when they're announcing the full program.
Yeah.
I think.
So that's wow. So we're pretty much there.
See, I do know stuff.
yeah,
I was just hiding earlier on with the facts. I know stuff.
All right, let's move
Jeez.
a bit closer to home to the IFI. The IFI have a number of seasons taking place. Notably, Robert Bresson is having a retrospective.
And it's full is at least 12 films. 8 of them, I think, on 35mm, if that's your bag.
Yeah.
I've seen a handful, not a huge amount of it, 3 or 4, I think. They're very good, the ones I've seen. Pickpocket is the best prison film. Ignore IMDb is the best prison film ever made.
Pickpocket is on the... Sorry, Pick-a-Pocket makes it sound like
Pick-a-Pocket is an Oliver,
it's
Oliver,
Oliver
Twist.
Twist version.
Yeah.
But Pickpocket will be
Gotta
screening...
pick a bucket or two.
Yeah. Pickpocket
Sorry.
will be screening on Saturday, the 13th at 4 p.m.
When I'm in Galway. God damn it.
No, there's a significant overlap with
Thanks,
Galway,
IFI.
unfortunately. Okay. Or we really
Jesus.
appreciate the work
No,
that
we
you do.
don't.
Okay.
But then when I miss a film. But no, I do
right.
money show.
But yeah,
Grand,
full season schedule running from the 2nd through to the 30th as well.
Yeah,
actually.
the films I've seen of his are very good. I want to see more, so I'll hopefully catch some of those.
Well, I mean, they do have a multi-film pass, which will be 5 films for 45
Yeah, they do
euros
that
as
in
well,
seasons, actually, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, which is a great way of sort of kind of evening that out. A great way to sort of spread the love, so to speak.
Indeed.
Also worth noting that again in July, the film festival will be back. The Family Film Festival at the IFI will be back, running from Friday, July 26th to Sunday, July 28th as well.
What do you got?
So they've got a whole bunch of great stuff on. They've got Minuscule, which is Mandibles from Far Away, which is a French film as well, which is recommended for ages 6+. They'll be running a double bill of shorts on Saturday morning from 11 till about 3 o'clock, which is Short Tales 1, Short Tales 2.
Okay.
Short Tales 1 is appropriate for children over the age of 4. Short Tales 2 is appropriate for children over the age of 8. So no excuse for any of us there. There's like Chuzkit, Soon versus Soon as well, running Saturday. And in terms of other stuff happening, there again, wide variety of stuff. A Town Called Panic, actually, which I think Ronan discussed on there. Do I remember Ronan discussing A Town Called Panic?
I feel like he might have.
It's a stop motion film, which is...
That was at Galway last year.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
And I don't think I went over too well, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
There you go.
But Aaron McGathy will be introducing the film as well, which is very good as well. So that's very worth seeking out as well. And again, ticket prices start from €5.50 for all tickets, including the opening night film. But a family ticket per film, which covers both feature films and shorts, costs €16.50 for 2 adults and 2 children, or 1 adult and 3 children.
Decent.
And again, if you aren't able to make it to the IFI, and I really appreciate this, highlights of the festival will show at Glore in Ennis from September 6th through 8th, which is nice. So it's nice to see that, they're not entirely sort of forgotten. And it's always good to kind of get that going out there. In terms of other cinemas and other festivals, the Lighthouse are having their sort of Wonder Years festival, which will be running from the 6th of July all the way through to the 5th of September. Which is quite a long sort of season, but covering a whole host of some beloved
great films.
Some absolutely amazing films. Naturally, you will never guess what is coming back to the IFI.
Call Me By Your Name.
Of course it is. I'm surprised it even left, but yeah.
Did it ever really left? It sort of just took a brief break.
She'd just bring it back when the demand's there.
Yeah.
Forever.
And the demand is always there, but it's covering everything from like Rebel Without a Cause to Sing Street to Kill a Mockingbird to The Lion King, Empire of the Sun, all of the Harry Potters as well, including a Harry Potter sleepover.
Which is sold out.
Yeah.
Already?
Pretty much straight away.
Jesus.
Thankfully, because I wouldn't have gone. But, yeah.
Okay,
fine.
just keep
because
pottering on.
If it didn't sell out, the temptation would always have been there for you, Jay.
It would have.
Yeah.
But they're also showing Lady Bird and Marie Antoinette, which is fun.
I never seen Marie Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette is worthy. It's a little strange, but it's worthy.
Okay.
In terms of Irish film news, Breakout Pictures are releasing the Irish co-production Animals in cinemas on August 9th. This one you may be familiar, starring Holiday Granger and Alia Shawkat.
Holiday Granger?
That's her name?
Holiday Granger.
Is it?
Yeah. From My Cousin
That's
Rachel.
not a
Roses,
real name.
Patrick
Apparently
Melrose. It may or may not be a real name, but she's...
It's filmed in
She was
Dublin,
the sister in The Borgias, if I remember
It's
correctly.
not a real name. I don't care what she was in.
Miss Granger, anyway, will be co-starring with Alia Shawkat.
Yeah.
Is that name okay?
That's fine. She was in Arrested Development.
Oh, okay.
Very
So,
recently. Green Room.
Yes, she was also in Green Room and Transparent as well.
Yeah, she's good. And this was filmed in Dublin, I think.
This was indeed.
Partly filmed.
And I think it overlapped with the Repeal the Eighth campaign as well, if I'm
yes,
correctly.
she was quite a supporter of it.
Very,
she had a repeal jumper.
Yeah. Good on her.
But yeah, so it's a celebration of female friendship and the choices that we make.
Who doesn't love
those?
It's
an honest, unconventional, and very funny snapshot of two modern women. So yes, you can check that out in Irish cinemas from August 9th as well. All right then, so I think that sort of rounds up the week in film news, unless there's anything else that anybody would like to talk about.
No, you covered it all there in a very professional manner, I might add.
Oh, thank you, Jay. Thank you.
That's all right.
All right then, so let's move on to looking at the top 10.
Yay.
Interesting note that though Avengers Endgame dropped out of the top 10 this week, it will be coming back to cinemas very, very soon, because you got to get that sweet, sweet, sweet Avatar.
Did it ever actually fully leave cinemas though? Because I feel like I would have.
It's still in at the moment.
Yeah,
it is actually still in the moment.
It's going to have the blooper reel at the end as well, so we can all enjoy that.
Yeah, it's just left. It just left the top 10 this week.
Great.
So that'll be re-released and it'll have some extra credit scenes.
So it's going to be now 11 hours long.
Yeah.
So enjoy that, people.
I'll sit and watch all of it.
I know you will, Grace. You're a trooper.
I don't give a shit.
At number 10, and really delighted to see this come in. This didn't make it in last week, and we lost the recording of us discussing it. So it's Late Night, which is written by Mindy Kaling, directed by Nisha Ganatra, starring Emma Thompson, Mindy Kaling, Amy Ryan, and a host of other performers as well, including John Lithgow and Hugh Dancy.
This has all the makings of something decent. Is it something decent?
It's something very decent indeed.
Okay.
It's a standard formulaic women at work sort of comedy in the style of like 9 to 5, to pick an example. I think Grace cited Morning Glory. Even earlier in the year, you had stuff like Second Act, which wasn't a particularly great example of the genre, but demonstrated sort of like what it is. It's this idea, again, of a woman entering a workplace in which traditionally she may or may not feel comfortable, and then sort of like earning respect and learning to balance work and life. It's that workplace comedy sort of thing going on. And it's really good. And it works in the same way that a lot of the romantic comedy boom of the past year has worked, which is that it understands that the structures of the genre are not kind of shackles, that they're actually part of the appeal. No, but they're also part of the appeal.
Yeah, of course they are.
It's like doing that last minute sprint and set it up is like, it's not a bug of the romantic comedy that's a feature of the genre. It's a feature.
God, I want to rewatch Set It Up. Anyway, go on.
Late Night has that same sort of thing. It doesn't exactly break down or redefine any of its genres. It's very much a wish fulfillment story, but it does understand that you need to tweak it a little bit and modernize it and sort of bring it into the present. And I really, really liked it. I highly recommend it. At number 9, John Wick Parabellum.
Yay.
Still haven't seen it. I will catch it at some point in the future and then complain.
Will you see it at the weekend?
No.
If you're not rushing out to see it at this stage.
I don't particularly care.
Yeah.
But they're grand.
Yeah. Not your mug of tea.
At number 8, one of the films that has surprisingly helped to keep the box office afloat in what has been a very dry, very desolate summer season outside of the Avengers, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, which has earned €1.1 million at the Irish box office to date.
Who'd have thunk it?
It was, like, up until this weekend, it was the best film of the summer by a significant margin. It's good fun.
The lowest of bars, I might add.
It's not been a great summer. Not been a great summer.
No.
Very pleased to see Diego Maradona in at number 7, actually.
But it's not him, though, is it?
Oh, okay.
Diego Maradona himself.
I was about to say it, just like as a person. He's just been visiting cinemas and they've been selling tickets to come look at him.
Actually, in fairness, he could do that.
That does sound like something he'd do as well.
It is. He'd
throw
a few quid at him, he will literally do anything. Yeah. Is the Asif comedian film?
Yes, it is. The director of Senna, director of Amy.
Yeah, I will get to this. Maradona was one of my idols growing up when I was a youngster, because I watched Mexico '86 where he shone.
Were you ever a youngster though?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I'd be surprised, quite frankly, to say. But yeah, so I was a big Maradona fan. I am not the world's biggest Commedia fan. I didn't particularly like Senna, and I didn't particularly like Amy either.
I think that Alex, who was on the podcast last week, talked about how he thought that Amy was a bit exploitative.
It is a little, but I mean, Winehouse is great as a central person and carries it past some really rocky stuff in it. And I've heard mixed things about this. The Marathon. Some people really like it. Some people were like, just watch YouTube for 3 hours and they'll get as much from it. And I think as a director, he tends to expensively assemble a lot of footage as opposed to say anything about it as such, which I would agree on 2 films, but I will see on this one.
And it's worth noting that Luke Dunn, who's been on this podcast, actually saw it and gives it a wholehearted thumbs up to it. He remarks Okay.
I'm joking. I'm only joking, Luke. That was a joke. We do.
But also he noted that when he was in the cinema, the crowd still cheered at the goals, which I really like.
Especially against English, which is, national duty.
Yeah. That's obligatory. Otherwise, we revoke your passport. That's
Indeed, and rightly so.
Yeah.
At number 6, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. How can a monster
comprehensively destroyed on this podcast previously?
How can a monster movie this horny be this boring? I don't know. It's very strange.
Found the way.
Light finds a way.
Finds a way, indeed.
Yeah, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Sad to see it. Well, not sad to see it.
You don't care. It's terrible, isn't it?
It does feel sort of weirdly inevitable, though, given the last Godzilla wasn't great, and this is just
the last Godzilla was
stripped out
terrible.
Whatever little parts in it that people may have liked in the other one. So yeah. Anyway, unfortunate.
Well, I mean, I would argue like part of the problem with Godzilla King of the Monsters is that it tries to combine the most incompatible parts of like Godzilla 2014, Gojira, Let Them Fight, and also Skull Island as well.
Skull Island was so much fun.
No, I love Skull Island, but there are parts. I wouldn't go as far as
I loved it, but I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
It's like peanut butter and steak. It's like these things, maybe you like them separately, but I'm not sure putting them together is a good thing. Spaghetti bolognese like sherbet.
Can I just say I don't eat steak, but I love peanut butter, so I generally when you put peanut butter or anything, I'm kind of all over it. So.
Even tomatoes?
Well, Jay, do I have the movie for you, Jay?
Do you, Darren?
No, I don't.
Okay,
at number 4, X-Men Dark Phoenix.
That's not the movie for me, Darren. I can assure you that.
That's very stale, gone off peanut butter for Jay.
Yes.
Hey. It's not even the worst superhero movie of the summer. But yeah, it's a mess of a film.
What shade are you throwing there, Darren?
I'm not casting. Who was casting any shade? Is it the second worst film of the summer?
Mooney.
Anyway.
You disappoint me all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But yeah, Dark Phoenix is
crap.
Fascinating.
Yes, fascinating, which means crap.
Unfortunately, in Darren speak, fascinating does often mean crap.
It does.
It's endlessly fascinating. It's again.
If you don't have the energy to be fascinated by films that are crap, it just means it's crap.
It's okay. I found something very.
Sometimes you're too nice. You're just like, ooh, this is an interesting attempt to do X, Y, and Z, but it's still crap.
I found something very amusing in like an X-Men movie that ends with the mutants taken into custody by the MCU in last-minute reshoots. I think there's something really deeply self-awarely hilarious.
Grishy reboot pending.
By who?
By the Mutant Control Unit, but they're the MCU, and their branding is all MCU. So the MCU, literally show up at the climax. They show up at the climax of Dark Phoenix and take all the X-Men into custody.
And I'm going to say this, I am never watching another Marvel film ever.
Tell me that's not amazing.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like the entire.
I appreciate that. That's
and
fair.
it's great because that's all a product of the reshoots.
Why didn't he just send in Goofy and Donald Duck to fucking arrest them?
Mickey Mouse,
Disney greedy bastards.
I mean, one gets the sense that this was maybe Kinberg having a bit of fun. Interestingly enough,
fun. Oh, let's own everything. Aren't we hilarious? No, Kinberg.
The idea
Capitalism.
The idea is that.
How much is Brian Singer earning off this film? In my mind, I'm glad it's bombing. Anyway, sorry, go on there.
The issue is that again, this was produced under Fox before Fox was bought by Disney. The reshoots came after Fox was bought by Disney.
It was probably still fairly shit before. Let's be real.
After it became clear. After it became clear that like Kinberg's like vision of the X-Men was going to be folded or whatever, for better or for worse, I like the idea that he took the opportunity to do reshoots to be like literally taking them into captivity by the MCU.
Do you think he thought of it in that way?
He wasn't allowed to pick. He's like, do those shoots or we'll shoot you because we're Disney.
We're going to stand there watching you operate the camera with an actual gun to your head.
If you don't film these scenes.
Or no, holding up your dog and just going,
Film them.
Did you hear the Do you hear the reason why it was supposed to release so this movie got pushed back several times, supposed to release last summer. Then what happened is they found out that it was very close to Captain Marvel in terms of its theme, content, and ending. So they had to do reshoots. They delayed the reshoots in order to get all the cast together because obviously.
But if it was coming out before Captain Marvel, then
yeah,
but I suspect he bet on one
I suspect that, fair enough. Again, when your new corporate overlords are pushing one of them in particular, you're they're not pushing this one. Originally, this was supposed to end up in February, which is why it obviously has a much smaller scale, actually. It has a much consciously smaller scale than Apocalypse, because it's supposed to be a February release. What happened is, James Cameron found out that they were planning to ship it. This is amazing. James
Cameron enters from left field.
Yeah, he found out they were going to release an X-Men movie in February, and he was like, no, you don't. That's Alita territory. And he was like, fuck it, you're kicking it into the middle of summer.
Oh my god, that did come out this year and everything, didn't it?
Sorry, isn't it worth mentioning the Alita internet weirdness? I know I'm very late to this,
not entirely sure we want to wade into that particular...
God.
Okay, never mind. Actually, I don't
know.
Let's just move on. What's next?
Except the Alita... Can we burn the internet?
The Alita internet madness is a very complicated minefield that I'm going to...
let's just not go into it then. Let's just move on.
No, I'm okay.
Yeah. I don't think it will enrich our lives.
I finally caught up to this probably 6 months ago thing. I was like, what is happening?
It's something that you can't even talk about because it's like, it is literally a minefield. At number 4, it's Rocketman. €1.3 million at the Irish box office today.
Stop going to see by Epics. That's all we're going to get shoved down our throats for the next 10 years, people.
Well, at least it's something different from superhero movies, no?
So, what? They're the same leading film over and over, though.
Yeah, but I mean, the same generic mass-produced kind of movies that you like. They just keep knocking them out until somebody makes something different that makes a ton of money. And
guys, I think I have something different for you at number 3.
What is it?
The Secret Life of Pets 2, which has earned $1.3 million at the Irish box office.
Animation, eh?
Fair enough.
But yeah,
like I said, I saw the first one and telly it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Well done, you.
At number 2. Surprisingly, given its overall international and performance in America, Men in Black International, directed by F. Gary Gray.
Men in Black.
Men in Black was probably the best description.
F. Gary Gray made this?
Yeah, which I'm astounded by, because F. Gary Gray is great. I really
Is he great?
F. Gary Gray.
Tell me what films he's made, Darren.
He's made a Fast and Furious movie.
Oh, 8, is it? 8 of this indestructible franchise. Number 8, is it?
8 has a submarine. And Charlize Theron.
8 is the one where The Rock kicks a torpedo.
Oh, wouldn't you tell me? Now I'll go back and watch the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th before I get to the 8th.
Compton, no?
Yeah, he also made Straight Outta Compton as well.
I quite liked it.
Which I really liked. So no, and
I think I've read some interviews with him which sounded questionable. But
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's disappointing.
All your favourites.
Actually, I really liked...
No one is unproblematic.
Okay.
I am. Well, maybe I'm not.
I was kind of rooting for him. But yeah, Men in Black International is a very strange film. It's not a good film. It's incredible. No, it's not. It's just dull, which is the worst thing about it. It's lifeless. It's inert. It doesn't really...
I hate when that happens.
Men in Black is probably the best.
Like, if you're going to be shite, at least be, like, brilliantly, dramatically shite. Don't be boring.
Yeah.
But
boring's worse.
It has this, again, and it has the central chemistry of Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, both of whom are really charming actors and should be popping off the screen with one another. But the film keeps... Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth,
sorry.
Yeah.
You just say popping off the screen with each other.
Yeah, they sort of pop. But,
right, yeah.
They have presence.
I get you.
Wait, what did you think I meant?
What did you think I thought?
Jay's Guinness went straight to his head.
Yeah, there we go. Wow. Gaspar Noé's Men in Black International will be a very different film.
Probably a better film.
It probably will be a more memorable film.
It would make less money, but be more well received.
Yes.
The issue of Men in Black International is it feels
bad.
Okay, well, it feels like it's not actually that bad. It's not the worst.
It's probably bad.
This year.
Let's be real.
It's just dull. It's
Hang on, just stop that for a second. What's the worst film you've seen this year?
Polar, starring Mads Mikkelsen.
Okay.
Just because it's like, what could be under these? I don't know where your bottom floor is. Your bottom floor is crazy.
Yeah. Like, and Welcome to Marwen isn't even in like my bottom top 10 at the moment.
Jesus.
No, and Welcome to Marwen
we live in an hourglass where like a lot of Darren's bottom choices might be top choices for other people, and you just keep turning the thing around.
Yeah.
You know?
You should watch Polar. It's on Netflix.
No, I shouldn't, Darren.
It opens with Johnny Knoxville receiving a blowjob and getting shot in the head.
How is that supposed to be something to encourage us to watch it?
I thought Johnny Knoxville... Is Johnny Knoxville even still alive?
I was just trying to give you a sense of what it takes to earn half a star in Darren's rating system.
Amazing.
Gross. That
Darren,
specific thing.
That
Johnny
specific
Knoxville
thing.
getting a blowjob.
You're like, unique.
You start at 5 stars and you whittle down as you go. That one lost 4.5 instantly. Like, come on.
Wow.
I mean,
sorry, I did interrupt, but I was curious as to why you're
okay. But yeah, so Men in Black International. But very, very quickly, the thing about it is it feels lost in time, and not just in the sense of being a revival of a 90s property that everybody's forgotten about. Even though I like Men in Black 3, it's got this weird thing where it's like, and it reminds me a bit of, say, the Game of Thrones and its handling of the Night King and the sort of Night Walkers and stuff like that, where you've got this weird fascination in modern pop culture. It's also in Brightburn as well with its interest on things like wasps and bees. This weird fascination with like old style Cold War kind of socialism So like the villain of this is the Hive, which is a monster that infects people and transforms them into itself, where none of them have a distinct personality and they're capable of changing faces and stealing identities.
Is this what this is?
Very weird. Well, I mean, there are elements about it that are very awkward in that, again, it feels like it took its politics from the 90s, where it's like nominally positive on the idea of integration, immigration, the Great Migration, but it's also about, again, it's a Men in Black film, so it's about the aliens arriving. There's a moment where Raphael Spell's character says, we used to protect Earth from the scum of the universe. Now it looks like we just protect the scum. And you're like, what are you doing here? What's going on here?
What's that mean?
What point are you trying to make? I mean, and again,
it's not very subtle, is it? If that's
to be fair, the film is kind of setting Raphael Spell's character up as a red herring.
Oh, okay.
But then doesn't, which means it's like, are we meant to think that was is that the film? Is that
that's the film.
Was that not meant to mark him as a villain? That obviously racist thing that he said.
Because if it's not,
maybe I've misread the room here. It's a mess. It makes no sense.
I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to see it because I've never seen Men in Black 3. I stopped at 2. It was enough.
3, I really like 3. 3 is the best in the franchise. I would.
What? It couldn't be.
I'm not a big fan of 1 and 2 is awful. So, I mean, by default, 3 takes it. 1 has Vincent D'Onofrio. There's a really nice article on Vulture about about how he did the performance, and he actually drank the sugar water.
Also, Vincent D'Onofrio was one of the great people.
He's amazing.
He's one of the purest.
Yeah. We should all wish to be half as pure as D'Onofrio. And at number 1, do we know what's at number 1?
I don't care. What is it?
Is it some animated children's movie?
Nope, but you're close.
Is it some superhero film?
Nope.
Is it?
Same at number 1 as last week.
I can't remember last week. I wasn't even here last week.
Same number 1 as the week before.
What's
You've completely forgotten that it's existed. This is amazing. No, it's not Endgame.
Okay.
I actually have forgotten about
this. This is amazing. This is actually very illustrative of a point that I feel like I need to make. At number 1, it's Aladdin. Guy Ritchie's Aladdin, earning
€2
million at the Irish.
See, that's the problem with this is right. Guy Ritchie's going to be given more films. Not that failing has ever stopped him, but he's just going to be given more and more films to ruin.
The thing is, though, Guy Ritchie can make a decent movie every now and then.
Yeah, he can. Every now and then he'll do some good.
You guys like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I like Sherlock Holmes.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. is great.
I like the Sherlock Holmes movies.
I won't watch them because they look terrible.
Okay.
They look like Snatched doing...
They're enjoyable, though.
And they star Jude Law.
They're not, amazing, but they are enjoyable.
That's Grace thirsting after Jude Law again. That's all this is.
Excuse you, Ronan also thirsts after Jude Law?
Yeah, but he's not here. I can only accuse you. I'll just accuse Ronan next week, so to speak.
All right, then. Let's move on to the new releases. So what's out this week?
Sorry, Ronan.
What is out this week?
What is out this week, Darren?
Oh, well, I'm glad that you asked. Brightburn is the...
I am intrigued by this.
Darren, sorry, just before you start, right? I know you were kind of a fan of this.
Yes.
And I noticed on Twitter yesterday that a lot of people disagree with you.
Yes.
You're kind of in the minority this week.
How
does it feel, Darren? How does it feel?
It's always just like...
That was a bit more aggressive than I was.
Yeah, that was very aggressive.
I'm proud of people falling over themselves to agree with Darren and definitely not tell him all the ways he's wrong.
Hold on.
And that's not just this podcast.
No. We line up.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, we don't.
But I mean, hey, like my review...
We take a ticket.
My review of X-Men Dark Phoenix, which explicitly includes the line, "This is not a good film," drew the attention of one particularly enthusiastic person from the United States of America who proceeded to post repeatedly under different aliases.
From America?
From the United States.
Americans make poor decisions. We have mentioned this several times.
About how I didn't hate the movie enough.
God damn it!
I know.
Darren, get out there with your sledgehammer and start smashing shit.
I know. It actually includes the line, "This is not a good film." But anyway, Brightburn, which is... Superman meets The Omen meets We Need to Talk About Kevin.
This kind of looks like Looper, though, to me. You know how in Looper the child was mental and murdering people for shits and giggles? And
I like Looper.
Looper wasn't bad, but it's funny, when I was watching the trailer for this, I just thought, I've seen this before, and it was Looper.
Well, Looper itself is very much like a Kira sort of thing as well. Akira! Kaneda! Tetsuo! But anyway, sorry. The podcast descends into 10 minutes of myself and Jay shouting Kaneda and Tetsuo at each other.
Please don't.
Yeah. But,
please to excuse.
But yeah, the thing about Brightburn is that it is a very simple, very basic premise, and it's arguably nothing but that premise. It's a high concept.
That's
it's a sketch.
Good.
It's a sketch.
I can get on board with that.
Extended to, and it's a crisp 90 minutes as well. So Jay
That's
can also get on board with that as well, which means that it doesn't.
I look forward to watching
itself.
it 6 months from now.
It's very shallow. It doesn't have a lot of nuance in there. It doesn't have any real subtlety going on there.
But
there's a but coming.
There is a but, and I cannot lie. One of the things that I found interesting about it is that it's because it lacks subtlety or nuance, and also because it's so committed to the high concept that is, what if Superman were like Damien from The Omen? And the way that it codes this and it turns this idea, the superhero iconography, into like something from a horror film. At one moment, there's a moment where the call is coming from like 100 feet above the house, which is like very much a kind of a horror trope.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
There's another moment where like you're watching the feet float across the floor, like from under the bed.
Oh, I like that.
Which is
Grace is going to see this, aren't you, Grace?
I'm probably going to go see it anyway. My brother wants to see it, so.
All right.
One of the things...
Sibling outing.
I found myself a little uncomfortable watching this, and I think it speaks to the film, maybe, I hope. Although it's possible some other stuff is playing there as well. It's very canted in what it's about with the fantasies that it's dealing with. In that, like, this is a story about a teenage boy who's turning 12 and whose parents are trying to deal with the fact that he is becoming something literally alien to them. Literally monstrous, something that is speaking to him and sending him coded messages. The first word that he learns in his own language is take. His father misguidedly tells him that you're going to have feelings about women and women's bodies, and it's okay to act on your urges.
That's not heteronormative at all, and also terrible.
But the film, I give, and maybe I'm giving the film more credit than most people are, but I think that's entirely the point that the film is making. Is that it's this idea of that teenage fantasy sort of like given form. It's this idea of the angry loner kid, and the kid is repeatedly stressed as being a loner. At his birthday party, it's literally only adults who are related to him who bother to show up. When he gets angry, the screens flicker in the background.
I've seen a couple. I didn't read full reviews, but I've seen a couple of American critics talk about it, and they were saying that the idea of it's very good. Yeah, but it doesn't quite.
Yeah, it doesn't excel in the execution. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily.
What is the significance of the title? Like, what's it referring to?
It's the name of the town. Okay. It's the name of the town.
Like Riverdale.
Yeah. And it also means that you get your Superman logo, again, your Clark Kent, Brightburn, that sort of stuff. It's Brandon Breyer, that sort of stuff.
It is a very interesting concept, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that's been done to death in comics. And I mean, you could
probably better than, like, isn't there... I don't know if I imagine this, but isn't there a part of Justice League where Superman's like evil for a while?
For like 10 minutes.
Oh, okay,
if even.
Right, never mind.
He's also
and he also has a mustache.
He's also older. Superman 2, is it? That has a
Superman 4 has Superman drinking.
That's not Superman 4.
Superman 3. Superman 3, the one where he goes drinking and has stubble.
And then he has a fight with himself.
Yeah.
When he's drunk. It's great. I mean, it's actually really good.
You could even argue that like Brightburn is riffing on Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and it does this. It does these Terrence Malick shots, the swing set, the little bicycle with its wheels spinning in the grass, the lens flare.
I knew a bit about that though, in terms of the original Superman had that kind of
all Americana, rural sort of. Again, it's shot in Georgia, so it doesn't actually look like Kansas, but it has this rural Americana.
Well, they're not in Kansas anymore.
Sorry. And I kind of really like that. Again, it's a very simple premise. It's a comedy sketch. You could argue that it should only be like 70 minutes long. It's already overextended 90, but I really, really liked it, and it unsettled me in a way that I thought was very
This is one
effective.
of these films that you kind of got me interested in that every so often you do this in the podcast, and I hate it because
you generally sit down.
But then you have to go and see it and drastically disagree.
Well, like I probably won't go and see this, to be fair, but I will catch it at some point. I will watch it where I was like I had a long kind of no before that. So you've kind of won me around there.
I didn't even know about its existence until the other week when my brother mentioned it. So
all right, I'm curious to hear another take on it.
Yeah. At also opening this week, Child's Play reboot, which is getting surprisingly good reviews.
The reviews came out a couple of hours ago, and it was like they were like, "This is not bad, actually."
Yeah, well, I mean, like the cast.
They're probably starting from a very low bar.
But the cast, like Aubrey Plaza, Mark Hamill, Brian Tyree Henry.
I think the cast
elevated
at a star in the context of people want to, because they like the cast, they kind of want to wish it well a little bit. Yeah. So I take the reviews with a sort of little pinch,
it manages to be entertaining at least. Then I mean that's.
Has it got Jennifer Tilly?
No.
That must point.
They recast the roles. It also doesn't have Brad Dourif.
Brad Dourif's still going.
Mark
like,
Hamill. No, I know he was in the Deadwood movie. Yeah. They replaced him with Mark Hamill.
Like I like Mark Hamill, but. Brad Dourif just sitting there, pay him the money. Like.
And this is possibly my favourite bit of like trolling, releasing, or advertising. Because we've reached the point where the marketplace is so saturated that in order for a film like Child's Play to exist, it has to exist in the context of something larger. So it is releasing the same weekend as Toy Story 4. And have you seen the posters? If listeners seek out the posters for Child's Play, because they are very consciously riffing on Toy Story 4 to the point where he's like burning Rex alive. he's like roasting the dog over the
There's an argument to make that Toy Story's eventual end point is that, really, isn't it?
Well, that's I think what they're getting at, which is sort of, and even like the way in which sort of the posters are laid out, because they're both against brown backgrounds, and they have this sort of like contrast between the two. There's one where a cowboy hat is lying amid a pool of stuffing, for example.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah, here I have a picture here if Grace would like to take a look there.
Lads.
So it's very consciously pitching itself in that, which I kind of love.
It's almost what's it when you do a film for the opposite art market? What's it called again?
Sabotage marketing. There is some sort of marketing.
No. You know, when you release
counter-programming
kind of elements of it, because there shouldn't be too much of a crossover. Certainly not kids, certainly, but maybe the adults that watched Toy Story 20 years ago could be all over Child's Play.
Well, I mean, again, talking to one of our former guests, and she was observing that she's waiting for the shock news story about kids accidentally shown Child's Play.
Who said that?
Stacey.
Ah, yes, she's probably right. Actually.
She is probably right. You're waiting for the outrage news story where
somebody will program delivery so they get their cinema in the paper. That's it. Because I imagine that happens all the time now.
Yeah. And then finally, obviously, that brings us to the big release of the week, which is Pixar's Toy Story 4, which is
a film that doesn't
need to exist, but what films do need to exist, Jay?
All of the films except Toy Story 4. Since you asked.
All right. Toy Story 4 is a Grace note. I actually really, really like this.
Sorry, pun on Grace, obviously.
But I really enjoyed this. Again, Toy Story 3 is the perfect ending to the franchise, the perfect capstone. It offers a conclusion.
Makes every man of a certain age cry their fucking eyes out of lost youth and all the rest of it. Yeah.
It also got me. I don't know if
it's
I cried.
the only film that men can cry at that don't cry at stuff.
Up as well.
But yeah, that's sequence and Up, and they're the only ones real men are allowed to cry at.
Okay, I wouldn't have marketed it that way, but thank you.
The real men was in the comments for our audiences.
Okay, all right. But yeah, so Toy Story 4, not a necessary coda, not necessary. But also, not as emotional. It understands you can't go back to that well. You can't have Toy Story 3 as a big farewell to these characters and then have another big farewell, almost a decade later.
So it's set up a new trilogy, is that what you're saying?
No, it's a coda. And one of the things it does, which is rather interesting, is that it bypasses, and it's very clever, it bypasses Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 and goes back to Toy Story, the original one. This is very much a Woody story through and through. It's a character profile largely driven by the character of Woody as played by Tom Hanks. And it becomes, through that, this sort of really deeply moving story about kind of what it is to have an ending and a purpose. And the idea of when you're obsolete, when you're rendered obsolete, when you no longer serve a purpose, what you do to yourself. And whether you're like Woody, who's always been this bundle of insecurity, has been one of Tom Hanks' best roles, if you ask me. But this idea of Woody's always been this bundle of insecurities that's wrapped himself up in the idea that he's needed by Andy, by the kid. And if you take that existential purpose away from somebody, what does that leave you with?
No, that's a fair point, and I think throughout the trilogy, they're he's the one always defending Andy. He needs us. It's kind of he's the one.
Well, I mean, this is the thing with and this is the thing with Tom Hanks.
Organized. Hanks is very good at that.
We talked in the podcast before about the difficulty in imagining Tom Hanks doing Training Day. I can't imagine a Tom Hanks Training Day movie.
No, neither can I.
And the issue is
kind of want to see it.
I do kind of want to see it. But Woody is about as close as you get to that. And that's largely because he's a cartoon cowboy. But he's a cartoon cowboy who tries to murder another toy in the first Toy Story. That's about as dark as I think you can get Tom Hanks to go, reasonably speaking. Is would he murder Spaceman Tim Allen? And I kind of like that there's this edge to him that kind of works in a cartoon 50s cowboy sort of way. And it...
Oh, shit, man, I just want to watch the Training Day now. You've put it in
I know, but just superimpose over Denzel Washington, Tom Hanks, and just sort of...
And let's recast Ethan Hawke and put who do you put in? If you're going to do something weird kind of cast.
Okay, so you got to go with Andrew Garfield?
James Badgedale.
Oh.
He'll die, though.
He would die, yes.
Spoiler.
Sean Bean.
The new Sean Bean.
The new Sean Bean, James Badgedale. Anyway, sorry, go on.
But I, again, had great fun with it. It's probably some of the most fun I've had in the cinema since The Man Who Feels No Pain, because it's just a romp. It's a pure adventure sort of road movie. And again, it's kind of, it leans into the weirdness of the Toy Story franchise. There's a moment...
Yeah, there is.
If you've seen the ads, you know that one of the characters is a spork that has eyes glued on it, called Forky.
Mm-hmm.
And Forky, quite literally at one point, asks Woody, while they're in the backpack being carried home, "Why am I alive, Woody?" And Forky's
terrifying, isn't
it? Forky spends the entire movie trying to get thrown away because he's a piece of litter, and that's where he belongs. And so he has to reconcile.
Jesus, that's
it's amazing. Dark.
Yeah, it's I'm a single-purpose feeding implement.
Is this a comment on plastics in America as well?
I don't know, but
single-use plastic.
It's got this again. It's this really weird sort of almost like Sartre-esque sort of like existential existence and suffering, like in a Pixar movie, which I kind of adore.
do that though. In fairness, when they're not. Well, this is a cash cow as well.
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's a.
Where are we rating this on the Toy Story scale? Last?
No, it's probably better than the first Toy Story. It's not as good as 2 or 3.
Huh.
But I mean, I can go with that. And it almost got me in the feels.
I'd be 3-1-2 personally.
Okay.
I have only seen the first Toy Story. It had no impact on me whatsoever.
Okay.
I've never seen the others.
I love 2, but that's an underrated opinion. 3 is great. I love 3.
3 is fantastic.
And one I appreciate, but I don't love.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes, I would wholeheartedly recommend that. But if people are looking for a bit more Grace, a bit more Jay in their lives, where can they find you guys online?
First of all, God help you. Second of all, you can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Pixie Grace.
I'll be on Twitter, generally speaking, at JCoyle.
You can follow me at Darren_Mooney. I also co-host another podcast called The 250, where we look at the IMDb's top 250 movies of all time, and sometimes the bottom 100 as well. And this week, listeners, we have a special treat lined up for you.
Oh my God, tell me.
Wait, what do we have?
Piping hot new entry on the bottom 100. This one's been coming for about 6 months now. It is, yes, Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, and Golden Raspberry Award sweeping Holmes and Watson. So come join us, Holmesies.
Godspeed to all of you.
Take it easy. We'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.